Welcome to Out Loud. I'm your host, Erin Pash. This show is all about how we can see other people's perspectives. You just never know what another person is going through. And my belief is that knowledge is power. The more we can learn and better understand what other people are going through, where they've been and where they're going, the better we can have empathy and a deeper understanding for other human beings who may be different from us. Today, we're going to talk about construction. We're going to have an awesome guest that we're going to interview later today who's worked in the construction field his entire adult life. And we're going to try and break down the stigma related to that tough guy mentality, especially as it relates to their mental health. But first, we're going to go to a segment that I really love called Millennial. We're going to bring in Zoey, who is a Gen Z person, and we're going to have me, who's a millennial, and we're going to talk about how construction is experienced different across generations. So without further ado, let's jump to Millennial. Welcome. We're here at Millennial, and we're going to talk about construction. So, Zoey, you're a Gen Zer. I'm a millennial. I was raised on this mentality of if you want something done, you do it yourself. I feel like millennials, we are the DIY generation. YouTube kind of kicked up when we maybe were starting to become first-time home buyers, and if we wanted something done, we just had to do it ourselves. What do you think?
We call the number of the person who will do it for us. Well, I do. I shouldn't speak for everyone, but I was never taught how to do anything, and neither was my fiance. So we just call the number to get it done.
To get it done. So you would never be like, oh, I need to fix this thing, or the garbage disposal went out, or I want to put a wood wall in my basement. You would never just be like, hey, Bobby, should we do this weekend?
Never.
Okay.
Never.
That's interesting. One of the things that I love is that, some of the things that millennials experienced is, right, we graduated from college right when there was this huge recession. And so there was this mentality, we were kind of broke. We were broke young people. We didn't have jobs. We were living in our parents' basements. And so there's this element, I think, of us also, and YouTube was becoming this really big thing. And so when you think about some of that, the combination of, well, we didn't really have homes, but when we finally got a home, when the market kind of turned around and we could finally buy a home, and then YouTube, and then that with not really having high wages and stuff. I mean, we really truly got to DIY a lot of stuff. This last weekend, I tiled the backsplash, and it was super fun. It was a project I could get done in kind of a weekend, and it was just awesome. I really love being able to kind of get my hands on the tools and get dirty and problem solve and kind of piece all the puzzles together and make it work.
That's awesome. And I wish I knew how to do that more, and I think it's awesome you know how to do that. And I'm actually wondering, what is it like to be a woman who can do that? Because I think we can all make a stereotype that was not the norm before, and now I think it is. So what is that like?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. So as you know, I'm one of 3 daughters, and I have a pretty frugal father. And so it was, if you wanted something done or wanted something fixed, you had to kind of learn how to do it yourself. And so he didn't have boys to teach. He doesn't play into those gender norms and stereotypes. And so as a kid, I would definitely say out of my siblings, I was the one, more so than the others. However, they're pretty handy too, to kind of jump in and do that. And I feel empowered as a woman. I love being able to use power tools. For my birthday a few years ago, I got a miter saw, a compound miter saw actually, so that I could do any kind of wood balls I wanted at home, or any kind, I made picture frames or made some cool pictures, or, I love to decorate, and so sometimes I'll go shopping to no avail, and I can't find anything I love, so I'm like, screw it, I gotta make it. And so it's cool that more women are feeling comfortable being able to do stuff themselves. I love this kind of feminist empower movement to allow women to do it themselves, and break into a field that's been predominantly male. And so, people don't give me weird looks when I walk to the Home Depot. They're just kind of like, hey, Erin, so it's gotten really fun.
I still get those looks. So maybe you're empowering me to want to learn.
Oh, good. I love that. So now we're going to talk about some tools. I know a lot about tools. I probably don't know all the tools we're going to talk about today, but from what you've told us, you don't know a lot about these tools. So why don't we start bringing some tools out, and we'll kind of get a good guess to see what you think they are.
Okay.
Oh, those are fun.
This This is one of the things to take a nail out of something.
Yeah, that's a hammer. The backside of a hammer takes nails out of stuff.
I don't know.
You don't have any idea.
Nope.
They're really fun to
What?
pull on. So this is something called an O-ring plier. Do you know what an O-ring is?
Nope.
Okay, so an O-ring is some kind of gasket that could be on plumbing or even on a car or something, on anything that's like a round circle, and it gets stuck on something, and so you can get in there and you can wedge it
Okay,
out.
so like, I was sort of close.
Yeah, I mean, not at all. All right, so we got O-ring pliers. What do we have next?
This looks like what you put a tent down with to make it not blow away.
Okay, I actually know that you know what this is.
Oh.
It's just a different size.
An Allen wrench.
Yes, she got it. So this is just a really long Allen wrench, which is usually, like, you get them for free, especially when you build furniture.
Yeah.
You know, which
I
I know
could do
you've
that.
done.
I've
Yeah,
done that.
Okay. So just a very obnoxiously long Allen wrench.
But it looks like a stake, right? For a
Okay,
tent.
yeah, sure. I'll give you that
Okay,
one.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
For sure. All right, Zoey. What do we think this bad boy does? And it's super dirty. We couldn't get a clean, whatever.
I think you hit things, and you probably scrape things, and you scrape up this way, and maybe down this way, and then you bang.
What are you?
And then you probably put something in there, and you're like, to open it up,
Yeah.
right?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a painting tool. You got the scraping.
Okay.
But it can go bidirectionally. It
Okay.
can gouge stuff out.
Okay.
It can close a paint can. So you were like close.
Okay.
This little loop thing here, you use a roller when you paint. It can scrape and clean off the roller. You can put it through there.
Wow.
And it can also open a can of paint.
So 2 out of 5. That's a fail.
I think that's pretty good considering what this was.
What is it? Oh, it's
Oh,
for
it's-
circle things.
It's an O-ring pliers.
Yeah.
All right, well that concludes Zoe trying to identify tools.
Oh, there's one more.
Oh, we've got one more.
It's a hammer.
She got it, folks. I mean, if this isn't progress, just wait. She's going to be our next DIYer.
You can do it.
Yep, anyone can do it. Love that. That's over. Our next segment is Dear Erin. This is where viewers get a chance to write in questions about their life or maybe a friend's life, and I get to answer it. Remember, I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. That's what gives me the authority to give people advice on these topics.
Dear Erin, how important is it to have a lot of shared hobbies with your partner? I've been dating my girlfriend for around 6 months, and I think that things are going well, but we have really different interests. She's into rock climbing and all things fitness. She's typically at the gym 4 to 5 nights per week, but I just don't care to go. I'm into all things nerdy and tech, but she doesn't understand it at all. This usually ends with us being apart most nights during the week, which sucks. Should we put more effort into each other's hobbies?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So the general answer here is it's totally cool for couples to do things separately, right? Like everyone should have their own identity. And I feel like even a lot of the couples that I've worked with in counseling, they'll come in and they've tried to like over enmesh their lives and they lose sense of who they are, right? And at the same time, as life evolves and life gets more busy, maybe it's with career or adding kids, we can sometimes lose track of being able to do some of our independent activities. And the key to a successful relationship is open communication and time spent with each other. So as life gets busier and people have their own individual hobbies that they want to engage in and they don't have a lot of overlap of stuff they like to do together, it can be a problem. Mm-hmm. There are lots of people who will come to counseling down the road and be like, I lost touch with my favorite activity, or I don't rock climb anymore, I don't get to do techie nerd stuff anymore. And they're also complaining, well, I don't even get to spend time with my significant other anymore, right? Like time is so precious. And like I said, kids just, oh man, that just blows your mind if people choose to have kids and just how much time they really take up in their lives. I mean, you even know having a dog, right? How much you'd write, like you don't just have those evenings where you can go out, you gotta stop at home, you gotta let the dog out, you gotta take him to the vet, you gotta do all these things, so your free time just gets absorbed. So my advice is that people should be trying to find things and have enough overlap for things they like to do. Mm-hmm. Our goal throughout our relationship is to help nurture the things about our partner that we really, really love about them, which includes their interests and their hobbies. I think it's just healthy for people to lean in and expect and understand that 4 to 5 nights at the gym during the week might not be sustainable over the course of a relationship. It's also really important to know that relationships don't happen in real time, they happen over time. So there's going to be times in their relationship where they can really lean in and engage in their hobbies, and there's going to be times when they can't. And they need to be looking at their relationship over a period of highs and lows, where maybe if they have kids or a dog or whatever they decide to do or their career, that might keep them really busy for a chunk of time, but it doesn't mean that it'll keep them busy forever. So a lot of times people will talk about how they get to re-engage in the hobbies that they really loved, maybe when they become an empty nester. So there's lots of good things to look forward to, lots of good things to learn throughout the course of a relationship. Finding things to do together is always great, but really it's important that people are spending some time together.
Awesome. Dear Erin, I'm a new mom and have transitioned to the stay-at-home mom life and caring for my baby girl. Up until now, I have been a working professional and I feel like my whole life has been turned upside down. Like I don't even recognize myself anymore. How do I juggle with my new identity while staying true to my core?
That's a really, really good question. We see tons of new moms coming into therapy, and as we continue to break down stigma around that it's okay to not be okay, we're seeing more and more people get help. As a mother myself, mom, I have biological kids, I have stepkids, I've been doing the mom thing for probably the last 15 years of my life. It's the biggest transition I've ever been through. Your whole identity changes, and it is hard. I mean, I'm not one of those like hang in there mama people, but the reality is like you kind of got to hang in there. I was told this really awesome story about flamingos recently, actually. So when flamingos have babies, they're so busy feeding their newborn that they actually don't get enough of the color from like the shrimp and the different stuff that they eat, so they lose their color. Right? So for about 3 years after their flamingo baby is born, they go from pink to light pink and sometimes even to white because they're so busy giving all of their color to their baby, which I think is a really good metaphor for what happens to moms and across maybe all cultures, including for human beings. We have to give a lot to nurture this new little creature in our lives, and it is a whole identity change and crisis. I don't think it does us any favors to pretend like it's not. A lot of times people will be like, oh, well, things haven't changed. It's not true. Things have like massively changed. And the best thing we can do is we can acknowledge that there's a change, and we can find ways to lean into the change, right? Leaning in for me means saying, how can I talk about it? How can I grieve, right? Like it's this ambiguous loss of how can I grieve who I once was in this transition phase to become who I'm going to be as a mother. It doesn't mean that you're totally lost. Much like the flamingo, the color comes back. So once you get your footing and once your baby doesn't, deprive you of all of your things, including sleep, and literally if you're nursing, like milk and all of that kind of stuff and all of that energy, right? You get to kind of grow back into your mom, and you never know, you might just even have brighter colored feathers on the other side of it. All right, everybody, this is one of my favorite parts of the show where we get to do what's called airing it out. We're gonna air out all the information, and today I'm really excited to introduce our guest. It's Ryan Wheeler. Ryan Wheeler has worked in the construction industry for the last 17 years in commercial roofing. He's owned his own company, Wheeler Construction, for the last 9. He is an exotic car guru. He is like an absolutely incredible human being. I've known you for probably the last 20 years of my life, and I'm super excited to have him here today so we can talk about all things related to his life, the things that he's been through, how working in construction has impacted, where he started to where he is now, including his life story, and all that good stuff. So without further ado, welcome, Ryan.
Thank you. You made me sound super cool. So
You
I appreciate
are
that.
so cool. You got to give yourself
I don't think I'm
credit.
that cool.
You are so
I'm not
cool.
that cool. You made me sound a lot better.
Exotic car guy, you're kind of cool.
Yeah. That didn't just like, I haven't been able to claim the exotic car thing though since I was like a kid.
That's
that
true.
came later in life, but
you were always pretty cool. But
Well,
yes,
I appreciate it.
we're really excited to have you here. So I want to get started by talking a little bit about, you've got the car thing, which I don't totally want to talk about because I think people are going to find it fascinating. But I want to talk about how you landed into commercial roofing. Like, what did you wake up one day and you said, hey, I'm going to be a commercial roofer?
yeah, I don't think anybody does that ever.
Yeah.
They really shouldn't. It's not a very glorified job.
Kids aren't asking their
Yeah, they're
parents
not like
to be
when
a
they-
commercial roofer for Halloween.
Yeah, so when they're doing that thing at school and they're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I've never heard anyone like, I'm going to be a roofer. Because it's not super cool. It's hard work. To me, the thing was I dropped out of high school and I was actually at a neighbor's house and the guy was like, seemed pretty cool. And I was like, what do you do? He's like, oh, I'm a roofer and we're hiring. I'm like, bet, how much? What's it pay? He's like, $15 an hour. I'm like, when can I start? He's like, well, I don't know, Monday? And that was it. And I remember specifically like the first few weeks and months, I would they would all tell me like, dude, you're gonna be doing this for a long time. Like, no way. This is a summer job. I'm gonna, whatever you're supposed to do. You can't make enough money because I had a GED. I dropped out of high school, so I was like, anything I can do to make the money. But in my head, I was like, well, I'm gonna go to college. Like, you're not going to college. You couldn't get through high school. Why would you go to college?
Right.
Like, well,
sure.
But that's what I was trained through school, that you're just trying to build up and then go to college, because you have to go to college
so
to
for
make
you,
money.
it was like, this is a summer job. I can make money. I don't have a big college fund just sitting there waiting for me. Dropping out of high school, I mean, was it because school was too hard or because you had other interests?
Well, school was pretty easy, and that was kind of the problem, was that it wasn't very challenging, and I didn't feel like I was learning what I needed to learn to actually do something in real life, because I'd kind of lived out in the real world. I'd started working young, and like, to me, money was an important thing. And I'm like, another part was you would hear kind of what teachers made.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, how's this person going to tell me how to make a bunch of money? Why didn't they go make a bunch of money?
Right.
And nothing against teachers at all, because I think it's the most underpaid profession in the world.
Yep.
And it takes such a special person. But to me, I was just like, I got to find something. And
well, they do it because they're passionate about it, right?
they are, yeah.
So you had to find your passion.
I had to find that.
Which
and
at the time wasn't roofing.
It was not. But then when I heard $15 an hour, I'm like, man, my first job was at the laundromat thing, the dry cleaning place, and it was $4 or $5 an hour. So it was like 15.
You felt, like you were rolling in the dough.
This is stupid,
like
yeah.
Scrooge McDucking through a pile of
Yeah,
cash.
easy money. I'm just gonna get rich here when I'm young. And and then it kind of took off from there, and fast forward 17, 18, 19 years, I'm still commercial roofing.
At what point in your career did it go from being just a job where you could make money to feeling like a passion to then leading to you wanting to start your own business?
Never.
Never.
Yeah, I never had like a passion to do that. I actually had gotten so involved in what happens when you're a commercial roofer, which is, it's got one of the highest rates of alcoholism, drug abuse, addiction, suicide rate, divorce. All of the things that are bad are associated with the trades, and especially with the commercial roofing side of it. So for me, I actually hated it. I hated everything about it. I got yelled at every day. You didn't get treated well. And I was young coming into it. And then I'd finally quit, but it was, you could make good money. So once you were in it for a while, I ended up becoming a crane operator, because I was like, who works the most? Yeah. And I would watch as I went through. So when I was 21 or 22, a little thing came in our check. It said, anyone interested in being a crane operator? I'm like, I don't know. Like, why not? Does it make more money? Yeah. And then I looked, and I'm like, the crane operator's always the one that's there the earliest and stays the latest. Yep. Which means he gets the most hours. Yeah. And he's most valuable. Yep. And I knew how to roof and do sheet metal, so I'm like, dude, that's a no-brainer. And then I told, the boss guy, I'm like, I want to be that. He's like, you? Like, we're looking for someone older. And I'm like, well, why?
So that was probably, when you were 21, I'm not going to age us out, but that was like 12, 13 years ago, 14 years ago, 15, something like that, whatever.
Yeah, we'll go with 12.
We'll go we'll go with 12.
Yeah.
So, but let's talk a little bit about that, because you said something for me that is really interesting, and that's like, you just get yelled at, right? And that people treated you like crap.
They're super toxic. The whole thing.
Like
screamed at.
Super toxic, but you kept going. You kept elevating yourself.
I wanted the money.
Yep. Well, you wanted the money, and there's obviously, I'm guessing you established at any given point where you just I could do this so much different, or I could do this so much better. Was there that moment for you?
I never really thought, because I never looked at it that way, because I didn't have, to me, my kind of hustle was on the side. I got to where I could make more money on the weekend just doing little flat roofs than I could during my whole week. And I remember I remember this like it was yesterday. We were on a job in Rochester. It was awful. We'd stay up all night drinking. They'd leave the bars open as late as because we were the only people there that had money to spend. Yeah. And so it was us and the bridge workers. And we would go in there and we would party all night and then go straight to work, which you can only do for
No, that's
you can only do that for a few days, and then you got to start taking a nap right after work and then going out all night.
You might not have gone to college, but that sounds a lot like the early years of college. I'm not gonna
But then you got to work 12 hours
I couldn't
straight.
imagine. Yeah, in the heat and
and you didn't drink water.
I literally couldn't imagine.
Why would you drink water? But I remember one of the foremen coming up to me, and he would always we'd have a couple foremans on the job, and the foremans would they would almost they found it amusing to see who could razz the younger dudes harder and who could make them feel worse about them. and we had came in. I remember I was still actually drunk when I showed up to work, and I was getting just screamed at. And he's like, you need to get your life together. He's like, if you want to grow up someday and be in my position doing what I'm doing, he says, this stuff ain't gonna fly. And I remember I wasn't down to hear that. And I just told him, I was like, if I'm doing what you're doing at your age, because he was probably mid-50s, I said, I would jump off this roof. And but that was the toxic, that's how this industry, that's how the talk was.
Yeah.
And I remember that was just, that was it.
Would you say, would you say, so nowadays they talk about like toxic masculinity. Would you like say that's what that culture is or was?
1,000%. And as you dig deeper, because I love this topic.
Yeah.
Because especially nowadays, like toxic masculinity means so many things to so many different people. And to me, it's so much deeper than just the, like, I can go kill my food.
The tough guy, hunter-gatherer.
Yeah, exactly. And to me, like, masculinity is being the father, being the dad, being the husband to your wife, treating your wife, and like being able to kind of focus on like that being such a strong part of your life.
Yep.
And then being able to, be the man and go out and do the things you need to do so you can provide for your family, but then also being able to tear down that kind of tough guy.
That rigid
when
exterior.
You get home. Yeah. And I don't think that's talked about very often.
I mean, it is, but even the way we talk, I think, about toxic masculinity nowadays is it's kind of like flippant. Like it's just kind of, we talk about it and we let it go and we're like kind of roll our eyes like, oh, they're just a toxic man or whatever that looks like. And I think it's not fair for us to just to take it loosely or lightly or roll our eyes at it. I mean, people like you have grown up in an industry or a culture, right, where maybe it came from generations ahead of you or in the labor trades, or like you said, it was just toxic in commercial roofing and in the industry and you were in. And that is what shapes a human being. And we have two choices, right? We either succumb to that or we grow out of it or go a different direction, right? And it's hard because a lot of people like you who maybe just have their GD, maybe not as tenacious as you. I know you have lots of hobbies and you want to go and do stuff on the weekends, and all that kind of stuff, but there is that pattern of feeling stuck. And what we know about stuckness is that we are constantly trying to find a way to not feel stuck, and that could be through drugs, alcohol, our mental health, or all that kind of stuff. And so, and I know you had experience with that too. So when somebody's yelling at you all the time and making you feel like shit, which is a really big deal, it's kind of hard to not have this rigid exterior on the outside because you have to.
Yeah,
you
have to. And that was one of the things that I didn't see any person that I kind of looked up to. When I first got in, there was nobody that was like, oh, I got to be home. I've got T-ball tonight. I've got this. I've got that. And I was always like, man, what do these guys have? No family?
Yeah.
Because like my plan was to, like eventually have a wife, have kids, and like do that thing. I'm like, well, what if I needed to get off? Like when I have legit things come up, and I'm like, hey, can I just be off by 4 today? Like I'm at 48 hours.
Yep.
Like, absolutely not. You're done when you're done. And that was how it went. And then everybody that was in there, like I talk about this a lot when I quit drinking, when I made that decision, I had literally nobody to hang out with because I'm like, who do I go?
Everything social.
And I remember being at the bars leading up to that and thinking when there's people that weren't out with us, that didn't want to go out, like, what are you doing? Like, what could you be doing that's more important than being out at the bar? Like, you're a loser.
Yeah.
And I remember that was my mindset 100%, that when these people are like, well, I got to get home because my wife, I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Like, that's okay. Like, cool, your wife.
Right.
And now I look at that and I'm like, man, if you could just, like, if I could just take these guys and like show them what I found and somehow get through to them, and like it could be, like life can be way, way sweet with still being a roofer. You don't have to fall into that entire life cycle.
Well, and what you've done over the course of your career is I want to talk a little bit about your story of addiction and recovery and all of that, and obviously starting your own business. And I'm imagining that you run your crews not to the ground and that you treat them a lot better based on your experience. And so I want to hear a little bit about that. But just really in general, like over your career, you did have that pivotal moment where you're like, something needs to be different. What was? Tell us what that was like.
I actually overdosed in 2000. What are we at? 13.
Okay.
In October of 2013. And that was and I'd actually lived my life, like I every single day. And like I would tell my wife, which you know my wife
I
very
know,
well.
she's lovely.
Yeah, she's awesome. And when I talk about this stuff, it's like, it's actually hard to talk about because
Yeah.
I'm like, what in the world was wrong with me? Like, what was I thinking? I had this beautiful wife that was literally just my ride or die. And here I am, you know, out, not coming home, staying out at the bars all night, doing drugs. Drinking nonstop. Like the weekends would come and that was like kind of my time where I was like, all right, I can
You can breathe.
kind of just get relaxed, but I'm not trying to hang out with my family and do all these things. Like I need to chill because I've got a whole other week in front of me of terrible decisions. So
did you have that like you were able to identify?
at that time, no.
At that time, okay.
No,
So that
it was
came
just
later.
like, because on the weekends I'd be like, okay, and I would tell her and I would like sit down with her and I'd be like, no, I'm going to change. Like things are going to be different. And then Monday would come and then everyone's like, hey, you know, we got rain coming, so we're going to go to the bar. Yep, me too. And then I would be there and then it would turn into, 7 at night and then it would turn into 2 in the morning and then I would shut my phone off or I would answer accidentally and then I'd lie.
Yep.
I'm working.
Yeah.
It is 2 in the morning. It's super dark. Like, and I just over and over and over. And it finally got to the point. So she had moved out. She had taken a little cruise and she moved to her mom's. And that had obviously it was getting really bad. And I remembered specifically once she had moved out, I was like, well, I knew this was coming. I was just kind of hoping I didn't ever have to deal with it.
Yep.
And so I had gone out. It was about 2 days after she had actually moved out. So I had to like go home a night before where like nobody was in the house.
Yep.
And it was awful. Like there was not enough drugs, there was not enough alcohol to change that part. That someone wasn't waiting.
Well, to take away the loneliness.
Yeah, like it didn't
Turns
matter.
out loneliness is a really, really, really big feeling that drives us to do a lot of crazy stuff.
Yeah, it was terrible. I remember, I remember all of that.
Yeah.
So then I went out and it was a Thursday night and I partied like I wanted to die. Like I literally partied so hard that like I didn't care. I was taking ecstasy. And that wasn't abnormal, but the amount of drugs that I was taking was kind of, I didn't care.
Like beyond just
Having
party.
fun
It was
and
like
partying.
numb. It was like beyond numb.
Yeah.
It was like I'm just nothingness.
And I hadn't done ecstasy for, a couple months. So
Yep.
then when someone came up to me, hey, I got ecstasy. I'm like, hey, I
Right.
like that. So
Right.
that's cool. And then next thing you know, it'd gone like an hour and like nothing had kicked in. And I had taken like 7 ecstasy pills or 6 ecstasy pills.
Which is a lot of ecstasy.
Which is a lot,
That's
yeah.
a lot
And
of
then
ecstasy. Yeah.
I had done it so often before that I was like, it's not a big deal. And all of a sudden that hit. And then I remember, and I don't know how deep you get in your show here, but
As deep as you want.
awesome. So I remember specifically. I remember I would always have cocaine with me. So I had a bunch with me, and the dude came. He's like, dude, he's like, you want a match? I'm like, dude, finally, the first person I've ever hung out with that actually wants to like
Share their drugs
share
with
their
me.
drugs with me. Like this is cool.
I
This
know
could
that's
be,
not funny, but
no, but this could be a real friend. Like
yeah.
I like this.
Jeez.
And so he was, and it was dark out, and we were on this clipboard. I still got it, sits in my office, and he had chopped up like a huge pile. I'm like, this would be funny. Like I'm pretty buzzed up.
So just
I'm
like
tuned up.
not thinking coherently at all. Like looking
Well-
like Ryan today, looking back on Ryan then, you're like you can almost tell it like what the hell was I thinking?
Completely, yeah.
Yeah.
But I also can bring myself back to that time, and it really wasn't out of the ordinary for the life
It just
I was
felt
living.
normal.
Yeah.
For
so
a commercial
he had
roofer. Like you guys all did it.
Everyone did, yeah.
That's
so he had this,
crazy.
like huge pile. I'm like, dude, I've got plenty. I'll just replace it. But this will be funny if I just
Take all.
snort his pile, like
Yeah.
as soon as he's not looking. So I did that, and like the second there was like no turning back, and
Yeah.
it was meth. Well, I'd never done meth. I wasn't down for that. I was
You
like,
like party
dude,
drugs,
I like
yeah.
to party. I like
Yeah.
to party drugs, and I did that, and it was like the rest of the next 3-4 hours was like
No good.
complete blur.
So did you go to the hospital?
No, I went back to an apartment, and I had remembered I remembered like when I looked. I'm touching my thing here, but I like all the veins in my neck were like my chest had veins coming through it. My eyes were all like the blood.
Like you were not well.
I was not well, and then nobody thought like I'm like, hey, I need like an ambulance or go to the hospital or something. And I remember I had gotten into a bathroom, into like a bathtub. I I was like, okay, I'll just like
Cool off.
But I also knew that this was the trajectory of my life. And I did know that at any given time, there was a chance that I overdid it and died.
And could die.
And now that my wife had, moved out and she was finally getting to where she was like taking her stand, I'm like, well, I remember thinking right before I blacked out, I was like, well, at least I don't have to see my wife happy with someone else. And then that was it. And then I blacked out. And actually during that, I remembered saying like, God, bro, one time, one time, please. Like, if you could get me through this, I will change every single aspect of my life. I don't care what that looks like. I don't care what it takes. And then I woke up and I'm like, oh shit. Like, I got a lot to figure out now. And I'm a complete disaster. I had to go find, my wallet was gone. My phone was dead. My keys were gone. And there was nothing left.
Your wife was gone. Your kid was gone.
Yeah, they were gone. But here I am in an apartment. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's nobody there.
Yeah.
Everything was cleared out. So like they had thought that I died or I was going to die. Mm-hmm. So they left. And I'm like, oh.
So you got left behind.
Super awesome friends. Yeah, so that was, and literally from that day on, I haven't drank since that day. There's been I changed every single thing. But then I had to tell I called my wife and I'm like trying to get a hold of her at work and sent her flowers. And I remember texting her and I was like, babe, I've changed. Like last night was I had a crazy thing happen to me.
Too much.
But I am 100% committed to you. And I remember I got a text back and said, fuck you.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
yeah, right.
I'm like, no, you don't understand. Cause she didn't know what I had just gone through to I've changed now. And she's like, you've done this 30 times.
Exactly.
I don't believe you.
Yep.
So that was and then shortly after I quit my job, because that was where the toxicity came. That was where I learned that lifestyle.
Well, you had to get away from that.
Had to, yeah.
To get better, you have to get out of it.
I think I was making $40 an hour and put in my 2-week notice. I'm out.
Yep.
I'm done.
Yep.
And then it was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I have no clue. Partnered up, did a landscaping company or something, did that for a year. I was like, this is not my jam, but I never planned to go back to that commercial roofing because I knew what that looked like. I knew what that meant for me. And then I'm like, if we can, it got to where the landscaping thing that wasn't my jam. And I'm like, what could I do? And I'm like, well, I know how to put on flat roofs. So if I could start doing little house flat roofs and find a niche, I'm willing to outwork anybody. And that's always been my thing. I'll outwork them.
Yeah, I've known that about you forever. Even still, looking at becoming a crane operator and working the earliest to the latest, I know you're a pretty motivated person. Yeah. So, I really appreciate you sharing that. That's a pretty intense story. And I think it leads us to this next part of your life that I really want you to be able to share with people. You're wearing the shirt that's Built by Battle, and I love it. I think it's a really solid brand, and I think it's really clear what it stands for, which is that you did not come to this life that you have easily. So Ryan, I told you he's an exotic car guru. He has a huge following on social media. He is known as at Lambo Dad. And
2 Ds.
What?
It's with 2 Ds.
With 2 Ds,
yeah.
D-A-D-D at the end, right?
Yep.
And so obviously he's come out of, the hard stuff that he's gone through in his life, but it hasn't been easy. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Built by Battle and some of the philanthropic things that you do because of your story and your life and how you've been able to take, really all of these challenges and turn it into awesome things for other people.
Yeah, so that took a little while to get, because I had to get myself right. I had to kind of learn. And it actually started with podcasts. So I started listening. I actually got in someone's truck one day and they had, someone was talking.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are we 100?
Right, are we not, why are we listening to music in the car?
Are we 100 years old? Why are we listening to this? This guy, and then he's he dropped a couple F-bombs, and I'm like, okay, you got my attention. What, who is this dude? Well, it was Andy Frisella. And I'm like, at this point in my life, I don't have really anybody that I look up to that's doing big things, but I do know that what I was doing is not what I want to be doing. Okay. And I'm like, what would be the worst thing if I listened to a couple of these and just kind of did what this guy said? And then he had a Lamborghini, and I'm like, my man,
Lambos are awesome.
Yeah, Lambos are sweet. And that was actually something that motivated me a lot. I would post a lot about, even through my worst times, when I get my Lambo, I would always say that. And people are like, maybe you should work on getting
sober.
Yeah,
or a
anything.
job.
Yeah, maybe you should just get your
Find
life
your
a
new career,
little bit
yeah.
together in your, in your 1992 Honda Civic. Lambo's cool, and those posts pop up sometimes now, and they're from 10, 11, 12 years ago, and I go through the comments, and then I'll retag the people.
Yeah. Like, look at me now.
That talk trash. Just, and it's just a little, like, just a little bit.
Well,
yeah, it makes me.
Everyone who's been through something needs those moments to feel proud, right? Like, I think pride is an emotion that we know we seek it from other people, but when we get it, we're still not really sure. And it's also when we get it from other people, it's an external motivator, but pride is very much an intrinsic thing. We have to feel it. And I agree that we need to balance that a little in and out. I mean, I hear it all the time. People are like, you should be so proud of yourself. Look at the company you've built and all the things you've done. And I'm like, what did I do?
No, you should be. This is super cool.
I mean, I get that.
This whole thing is awesome.
But it has to be that intrinsic motivator. So I am totally pro, like, do what you got to do to help make it in those moments for you. You know?
And to me, that was kind of one of my driving things, and like I'd love to be like, oh, it was because I wanted my wife and kids to have this, or my wife and kid at the time to have this amazing life. But it wasn't at all that. It was that I had so many people that doubted me that I was like, I'll get a Lambo and then I'll show them, and I will outwork anybody until the day I get a Lambo. I did that. I got the Lambo. It was incredible. It was awesome. It was so much fun. I've had a handful of them now, and now they're tools, and I could. Like, my life is not defined by the car. I could get rid of every car, every cool thing like that I have, and my motivation would still be so much bigger than any of that.
Any material things.
Yeah, any material thing, like my marriage, my relationship with my kids. When my daughter was born, I made like a hard line in the sand that I will not miss one thing that she wants me to be at or needs me to be at for as she grows up. And at that time, I was still putting in, 12, 13, 14 hours a day on the roof building this company. So I took a huge step back. We took a huge hit on what we were making, but we simplified everything. And now when you look at, like, life is so much better. We run a smaller crew. I've got a foreman. I don't spend any time on the roofs anymore. And it's crazy to look at, and it's crazy to see, because like you said, I'm like, I haven't really done anything yet though. Like, we could scale this so big, but I do know the difference between scaling. I know the chaos that comes along with scaling, and to me, it's like, it's not worth it. But that is what's gotten me into all these other little adventures, and that's where Built by Battle came from. So Built by Battle was my business partner, and I bought a t-shirt company because I needed.
Because why not? Why not buy a t-shirt company?
I needed t-shirts, and the guy that was helping me was like super cool. I thought he owned the company. He hit me up one day. He's like, dude, I've got some issues going on with the lady that owns my company. I'm like, the lady that owns your company? I thought you owned the company. You treat me like you own the company. He's like, no, dude, I've been working, and told me the whole story. And I'm like, well, sweet. How can I help? He's like, I don't know. I'm just reaching out for like advice. And I'm like, okay, if she's doing this, we'll buy it. He's like, well, I have no money because I'm like, okay, I'll buy it. But I don't know anything about t-shirts. All I know is how to put them on, and that's it. I don't even know how to wash them.
And that I have to wear clothes when I go places.
Yeah. And I just need more t-shirts because I need to put on new ones, because if I wash them, everything goes in the washer at once. It goes on as fast as we can get it done.
Right.
And then they're like baby clothes. So I need t-shirts.
So laundry not on your list of your favorite activities?
No. It's we've looked into this, like a laundry service to just do my laundry.
Sidebar, because I've looked at this too.
Yeah.
They don't really exist. Like, they do, but they don't.
Yeah, so we should do it.
Yeah, we should do that. All right, sidebar. We're going to talk about that follow-up when we're in the laundry business together. But anyways.
Which should be in a couple weeks.
Yep.
It needs to happen.
So Built by Battle is a company, that you have with this, the partner that you have from the t-shirt company. He started it, and it's this idea behind exactly what we talk about, right? Like, that you've been through hard things, and you are who you are today because you've been through this battle inside of you, outside of you, all that kind of stuff. And so one of the things that Ryan had shared with me that Built by Battle does is they kind of, they sell products and merch and all this kind of stuff, which you guys can buy at builtbybattle.com. But they take a lot of that money and they give it to people who are, have been through a struggle and been through a battle, and then to try and get them to that next level. Like, Ryan was telling me about this woman who could have was going to the world championship for jiu-jitsu, and she had worked her whole life to try and get to this place, definitely had a huge struggle. And so Built by Battle took their funds from some of the money, and they made sure she could get there, right? So really kind of like that community-oriented, like, philanthropy and making sure that people can do that stuff. Ryan is also super connected. I think it's called Crown Rally.
Yes.
Right? Crown Rally is it's a car club.
Yep.
And it's all for cause, right?
So they raise a ton of money. So almost up to $1 million that's been raised and donated. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yep. And so he uses all of his exotic car love for good. Obviously, your roofing company is still active, and he treats his employees like he wishes he would have been treated back in the day. And
That's
gives
why
them,
they stick around.
That's why
Yep.
they stick around. Yep, that's a huge thing. So, Ryan, I'm so grateful that you came and you shared your story with us today. So every guest who gets to come here, you know, we talk about all of this, kind of the ins and outs of your life. You kind of get this thing where you get to do this like motivation minute, right?
Oh, boy.
So I want you to look at that middle camera right there,
Okay.
and I just want you to give our people like, you know, 30 seconds or a minute of what would you tell somebody who was the younger you, or from where you were then to who you are now, that might help them and make them feel different.
Oh boy. Okay. Man, this one's tough.
Yep.
This is a tough one. Okay. I would say for me, one of my biggest things has been just keep pushing forward. We use that with Built by Battle a lot. Is just keep pushing forward. So whatever you're going through, you can get through, and you will get through, and you'll be able to look back, and don't let the small struggles that you're having define how either the rest of your day plays out, the rest of your month plays out. And we get so many people that share with us things that they've been through. And when you hear some of the stories, it just makes you look at your story and like, I can literally do this. So I would say just keep pushing forward through anything you're doing, and just keep looking to the next, kind of what the next thing is, even if it's 1 minute at a time. Just get through that and just keep going.
I love that. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
I appreciate everything. This is
so
fascinating.
cool.
I love learning all about this, and I could talk to you for hours. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Awesome. So the next segment that we're going to do on the show is called Erin's Take, which is really just a fancy word for we're going to review some products. Most of the products that we review on the show come from just our general interest. Sometimes people send us products. Sometimes we're promoting products that we already know we love. So the first product we're going to talk about today are actually Vital Leaf chocolate bars. So what's really cool about them is that they're not a regular chocolate bar. They have CBD in them. So CBD is like this super popular thing that's come up over the last couple of years. It's derived from hemp plants. These happen to be THC free. They're gluten free. They're vegan. They're sustainably sourced from like farms that we know we can trust. And so we're gonna try them. Zoey and I will self-admit that we support people to use whatever types of CBD products and things that they like. We don't typically use them. So we're gonna try some of these chocolate bars. This one happens to be hazelnut and sea salt. It's got a fun little marijuana leaf on the front. Smells good. It smells really good. Okay, that is delightful.
Can I talk with my mouth full?
I mean,
It's really
sure.
good.
Okay, it's super salty. The sea salt one is super salty.
I don't like chocolate and salt together, but it's kind of bitter.
Oh yeah, I think it's a darker chocolate. Ooh, it's really, 73%.
That's good for you.
Is it cocoa? Yeah, 73%. Okay, it's delightful.
I like that.
Especially for people who like the salt and the sweet together.
100%. That was good.
We will probably not be able to tell you about the calming effects of these chocolate bars because
I'm never calm, but
maybe.
it could be good for me.
You know, I mean, the effects of CBD, right? Like it's not really clinically supported. However, there's a lot of people who talk about that it helps calm their anxiety, it helps them fall asleep better at night, it can help with muscle aches and soreness and all that kind of stuff. And like I said, I'm not really for or against it. I'm for or against human beings having better experiences. So if it makes you feel better, use it, and if it doesn't, don't, right? And that's kind of how I feel about all that. This one's really, really good.
What's next?
Let's see what else we got over here. Vanilla bean crunch.
Ooh.
It smells so strong, like vanilla, which is cool. And it's got like little flecks in the back too. More weed leaves on the front, which is kind of cute and fun, kitschy. That is delightful.
That's so good.
That is so good. So this one's 73% too. It's sweeter. It's sweeter than the last one.
I like vanilla though, so this is my top so far.
Okay, I like the hazelnut one a little bit better, but I'm kind of a sucker for hazelnut.
Oh, that is so good.
It is so good. Okay, and then the last one is classic dark chocolate, which you and I will self-proclaim we don't really love dark chocolate because we're small children on the inside and prefer milk chocolate.
Yeah.
But we're still gonna try this one because there's no stuff in it. There's no like salt or texture or whatever.
Thank you.
Okay, I actually prefer this one.
Give me a minute.
It's super smooth.
I need some like ginger to break up the taste. That's good.
Yeah, it's so
Good.
good.
I think that's my favorite.
Yeah, and it's super smooth. So you can get your own Vital Leaf chocolates at the link below. And these are really good. And maybe we'll give you a follow-up and let you know if we had any sort of health effects from them after we take them. So cool.
Nice.
All right, that's Vitaleaf. All right. Let me set these over here. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to review is actually something I've used in the past before, but this is called the Shakti mat, and they are handmade in India, and what they're just really cool. So I'm going to pull it out. Zoey, of course, is going to sample it for us. But like in the past, you've probably seen, like I remember in Aladdin, the old like cartoon movie, they show like a bed of nails and somebody like walking across it or whatever, and somebody was laying on it. And so this is kind of the same idea, that you use pressure points in different parts of your body or over the mass part of your muscles, and it can really help relax your body. It's probably a little bit of a acquired taste. It's gonna probably be fun to watch,
it hurt?
Zoey.
Oh my gosh.
No, they don't hurt. It's weird, but it feels so like you're spreading it out off over the mass of your body. So this is what it looks like. It's super cute. It's super lightweight and fluffy, but there are these spikes. So there's these little spikes on here, okay? And the whole idea is that the more spikes that you can kind of get over your muscles and your skin on your back, it can really help calm and relax. So the idea is that you're supposed to use them like 20 minutes before you go to bed at night. I have used something like this before. This is definitely nicer than the mat that I had before, which I love, and I just love the aesthetic of it. All right, I'm gonna throw it on the ground for you.
Okay.
All right. And the whole idea is that you should kind of slowly sit your butt down at this end where it says Shakti. Yep. And then slowly kind of roll your back over it, okay?
Oh God.
How?
Oh God.
What are you feeling?
I mean, I don't know how to relax.
You just take a deep breath. Like take a deep breath. No, like slowly let your body like lean onto the mat.
I think that I might be doing it wrong, or maybe this isn't the right outfit, but I see the potential. It feels better where I have a dress than my open
like
back.
it on your bare skin.
Yeah,
So if we
this
had
feels
something-
good. This part, I wouldn't recommend bare
So
skin.
I think you have to work up to it. So
Yeah.
when I first started using one of these a couple of years ago, I would have a shirt on, and then over time I would like pull my shirt up because the intensity feels good over time. So you're doing pretty good for like being a starter. I mean, it is like a bunch of little pokey things in your back. So see, look at she's already feeling relaxed. It could be the CBD, it could be the Shakti mat. We're not really sure. The cool part is that Shakti is willing to give everybody a 20% off discount. All you have to do is use the coupon code OUTLOUD if you want to buy one. And yeah, I love it. I wish I was able to get on the floor right now and lay on it because I like thoroughly enjoy it. So I'm gonna be taking this one home, and I'm gonna keep it, and I'm gonna use it every night. And the next time I film this, I'm gonna be super duper relaxed. So.
Oh no. I just flashed that for you.
Did she?
I stepped on my dress.
Did you guys catch that on the camera?
I'm sorry. I had to get up off of that. It was really hurting.
You okay there?
I'm fine.
Okay. We have never once said this was a show for children, and it's on YouTube, so we don't have to deal with a bunch of other stuff. But yeah, we might need to bleep out some of Zoey standing up. We'll be great. It'll be great.
It's just the microphone.
Yes. So overall, though, like I love these two products.
Yeah.
I actually do really like the chocolate. I don't know how fast it's supposed to work. I know stuff getting in your digestive system can take, anywhere from a couple minutes to like 20 minutes. But I have a lovely taste in my mouth from eating that chocolate.
Me too.
And I'm not gonna lie, I already know I love this mat, but I really loved watching you try and use this mat. So
I'm excited to keep trying it and
well,
practice.
good news, because we have two. So I'll take one and you take one,
Woohoo!
and we'll figure it out. So. Well, that's it for Erin's take for this week. No, it's Penguin Fin. She came, she put her arm on my shoulder, and she was like, Well, I really appreciate having my guest on the show, Ryan. If there's any takeaway for me today, it's that really anybody can get through anything. I'm so grateful that he shared his story and everything that comes with it, and I love being able to see a friend, a commercial roofer, and everything that Ryan is on the other side of his battle. Obviously, I'm really excited to be sporting my new Built by Battle hat, and I hope that everybody knows that we share these stories and that we just get this deeper look and deeper understanding into different human beings and their life. Next time you see a commercial roofer or somebody says I'm a commercial roofer for a living try and understand that there's more to them than just the job that they do, which is really the whole point here. So you can pick up your Shakti mat. You can buy some Vita Leaf chocolate bars. Our next show, we're going to be talking to a couple of anesthesiologists, literally the doctors that put you to sleep for surgery, and it's going to be fascinating to learn a little bit about, a glimpse into their world of what goes into kind of being the doctors behind the scenes. So thank you so much, and I'm excited to see you next time.